Alrighty guys, so this week we're going to talk about something that I heard of in one of my favorite podcasts, Ilvermorny. They were talking about this a few episodes ago when they were talking about house duality and is there a possibility to be sorted into two different houses. Now personally, I had always been okay with this because as you guys can see, I am Hufflepuff. But at the same time, I have Ravenclaw-like aspects. I love to learn, I like to study. If something isn't making sense to me, I will ask a stupid amount of questions, especially under anesthesia, about what's going on and just to have people explain things to me so that I can learn and grow. Now, I'm not saying Hufflepuffs are not studious, except general consensus is that they are. I am also very loyal, very hardworking, and I love stuff like that. I like to be consistent and keep moving forward. So I was like, sure, I can be a Ravenpuff. I mean, it's technically a Huffleclaw, but that one just sounds weird. So Ravenpuff it is. And if you guys have followed me on Twitter, it is my Twitter handle. However, they brought something up, which is a new sorting method that intrigued me. So this is from a website called Sortinghat Chats, and we will talk about it in just a minute. Friday. So we're talking about a new method of sorting. And while Dumbledore says we might sort too early, you guys all probably know sorting is basically a giant personality test. That's pretty much how they run all of these things. Now, the actual Sorting Hat may not do it that way, but that's how Pottermore works and any other quiz you've ever taken. They basically pick personalities that best show those attributes. So depending on how you answer the questions is how you end up being sorted into your personality. It's like taking a Myers-Briggs test or a DISC test or whatever other one you've taken both in school and at work. Now, they were talking about this one in episode 279 of Ilvermorny. So if you want to listen to it, I will have it linked below. It was an excellent episode, which I had a lot of fun just listening to, and I think I commented a great lot. And it actually changed my username on the Ilvermorny chat line because I took this new quiz and it actually made a lot of sense. Basically, this is from a website called the Sortinghat Chats, and it will be linked down below as well. Sortinghat Chats has a whole different way of looking at the actual houses. So yes, there are the four houses, but you have a primary house and a secondary house, and you can model other houses. Now, what does this all mean? Well, it's kind of complicated. Okay, so I'm going to read from the actual website because it is actually a little bit more complicated than just, hey, look, you're in Hufflepuff, which is cool, which means you get a little bit more of why you do things and how you do things. So your primary house is why you do things, your reasons, your motivations, and your drives. Your secondary defines how. So your methods, your actions, behavior. Neither primary nor secondary is more important or more you. They are just aspects of you, your why, and your how. So you can use the tools and systems of a house you don't belong to. This is called modeling. So for example, the first time I take the quiz, I always come up Gryffindor, and it's because my husband is a Gryffindor. And so sometimes because of things I deem failing as a Hufflepuff, I will model Gryffindor, or I model Ravenclaw. My mother, who is one of my best friends and one of my mentors, is a Ravenclaw, and so are many of my friends. So it's not amazing for me to want to model some of the Ravenclaw behavior that I have learned. For example, both my parents have PhDs, and I am a stay-at-home mom. So While I can study, I don't have that drive to study the way most of my other family members do, or my other friends do. It's not the thing that grounds me. I am the in the kitchen Molly Weasley kind of person. Which almost wonders if she was a Gryffindor, which I'm starting to wonder. I think she would be a Hufflepuff, but neither here nor there. All right. So, you can use so it says you might model a Ravenclaw secondary if you really value gathering knowledge or skills. Ta-da! Or you might model a Ravenclaw primary if you admire careful logic and philosophy that underlines that house's morality. But you wouldn't feel guilty dropping those ideals or methods for those models for the sake of other priorities. So, for example, for me as a Hufflepuff, I like debating people. It's my Ravenclaw side. But if I can see people are getting uncomfortable, I will drop it hard and fast and go, you be you, and go be. And that will not affect me in any which way. So there is that. I won't argue to the point of I am right and you are wrong. I'll just go, well, we will both survive. All right. The other problem can be is your primary or your secondary house can also be burned. For example, someone might have a burned Gryffindor primary. Burnt houses still value their ideals and methods of their original house, but they are exhausted or resigned. If the world was better, they'd live by those ideals, but the world isn't, and they feel they have to be practical. They often find unburned members of their house frustrating or naive. And for me, I actually am a burnt Hufflepuff. I've had a few cases where friends were not what they were supposed to be. And for me, being a Hufflepuff, being loyal is a big, big deal. And so when people who should know better do things, it makes me brittle inside. And then I start doubting other people. So it's one of those things that's kind of hard to do where it's like when you start getting cynical with age. So yeah, I would like to be a happy, shiny Hufflepuff, like with the whole thing with Loot Crate. But eventually I get burnt and I go, well, they've already effed up. They're probably going to F up again, and there's no point in getting too high hopes because they might do it again. All right. So basically, you take this quiz online, and I will link it below. You can't actually get it. I think the original link sends you to Tumblr, and at least on this phone, I cannot get the quiz. So I actually had to look up Sortinghat Chats quiz to get the actual quiz, and it'll walk you through a whole bunch of questions. So you can start with primaries or secondaries or go, I don't care, and they'll just start one for you. So if you start with primaries, the first question it says is, if people in your family or community disagree with you, is it hard to act against their wishes? And then you get several answers. First one, yes, because I care about what they think or I don't want to hurt them. Yes, because I have to live with them and be around them and they can make my life more difficult with their approval. It might be hard, but I've got to do what I think is right. I don't care what the larger community says. If the people really close to me are against something, I'm less likely to go through with it. No, not at all. So basically, you go through all these questions, and then they will give you a list, and it'll go, okay, this is what we think you are. Does this sound right? Alrighty, so I finished the quiz off camera because it's actually fairly long to sit there and read and think out all your answers. So, strangely enough, I got Hufflepuff primary. Who'd have thunk it? It goes, you might be a Hufflepuff primary. Tell me more. Okay, so Hufflepuff primaries care about fairness and loyalty. They stick by things. They step up even or especially when things are hard and they don't want to. They don't prioritize ideals or people just because they like them better or because a shiny ideal makes them feel nice. It's not about feeling good. It's about trying your best. If a Hufflepuff values people, then they value all people and they try to do it equally. They value community. Many Hufflepuffs bond to groups rather than solely individuals. They value fairness because no one is more worthwhile than anyone else, no matter if the Hufflepuff likes some people better than others. They feel best when they give everyone a fair chance. Even directly wronged, a Hufflepuff will often give someone a second or fifth or 25th chance. They often dislike confrontation, valuing stability, camaraderie, and peace. They might not always speak up or rock the boat, but they'll show up, they'll act, and they'll stand by people who need it. And it goes, does this sound like you? From your answers so far, you might also be a Gryffindor or a Slytherin. which honestly, a burnt Hufflepuff kind of turns into a Slytherin. So if you're a Hufflepuff and you're all about community, if you get burnt, then you turn into a Slytherin that values their immediate group. So that's not really. So then it goes to explain. Gryffindor primaries care about their gut morality. They want to do the right thing, and they think part of the answer comes from trusting yourself. They can still be thoughtful, careful, and rational. But they have strong belief in a value of moral compasses. Some things are just wrong, no matter how many pretty words you use. So with the whole thing, I am a Christian, so there is, like, in that belief system, there is a right and there is a wrong. So that's also where my Gryffindor kind of comes out. So because my belief in my faith, there's right and wrongs. Even though the Hufflepuff in me wants everyone to be okay and to get an equal chance. So Slytherin primary, you prioritize your own selves and your loved ones first. Slytherins don't feel guilty or selfish about this. They feel righteous and moral. Most important is to look after your own. Abandoning or hurting one of your own is the worst thing you can do. And so it gives you several answers. So then you can click and move forward. It goes, I might be a Hufflepuff. Tell me more about Hufflepuff. I like Hufflepuff, but I'm torn between it and another house. Can you tell me more about the other houses? So then it will launch you in, and I did try this once to try to look at all the different houses. Being the Hufflepuff I am, I wanted to look at all the houses and see which one applied to me most, instead of just, going with the answer in the test. So it will actually let you work through, but it is one of those things where if you're not answering the questions right, according to the test, it's going to have a very hard time showing you all the other answers. But there is a nice website that will also be linked below that gives all the explanations. Next answer is, these are nice ideals. I can live by them when I can, but maybe you can hardly do it all the time. Maybe I am model Hufflepuff. No, this is not me. Keep looking. I'd like to explore Slytherin. I'd like to explore Gryffindor. I'm definitely a Hufflepuff. Yes, I know. No, I'm really a Hufflepuff. Thank you. So then it does kind of push you to go, okay, are you sure this is what you think you are? And it gives you a few more details about some of the other things it could put you in. And you can either go, yes, I'd like to look into something else, or no, I'm really sure I know what this answer is. Okay, so the next thing it does is then source you through secondaries. And of course, the secondaries are your methods, your hows. So why, like I said, with the Hufflepuff, my why is people and giving everyone an equal chance and a community. Your how is how do you pull this off. Alrighty, so I'm actually kind of intrigued because this time when I took secondaries, I ended up with a Ravenclaw secondary. So, you never know what you get on. And that's the problem with all personality tests. It kind of depends on what's going on in your life, how you're feeling that day, especially if you're like a borderline between certain things. Even with Myers-Briggs, the goal is to get to the middle, actually. It helps you figure out where you are on a spectrum. So the closer you are to the middle, you could get either one very easily, which is probably where my secondaries lie. It's either I really model Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw, or I'm borderline in my secondaries, and I could easily be two. So Ravenclaws are collectors dedicated to knowledge, to facts, to systems, tools, and skills. The things they have already learned are what they call on when things get tough. They can collect useful skills, build complex, clever systems, invent vitally useful things, or just learn everything there is to know about birds of South America. I haven't gone that far, but as you guys saw from last week's video, I learned a lot about plants. Ravenclaw's efficacy often relies on what situation they're in, what the problem is they have to solve, and whether or not they prepared the proper tools for that problem. While Hufflepuffs and Gryffindors can apply their skills at stockpiling trust and inspiring passion to attack various situations, Ravenclaw's tools are necessary for specific tasks. Do they know how to ride a horse? Speak Greek? Do they have a contingency plan for earthquakes, zombie apocalypse, and surprise visits from the in-laws? Yes, I have those, thank you. If they have already built themselves a tool set for the situation, they're likely to excel in it. If they have not, they're likely to blink a few times while they try to either invent something new for themselves or cobble something up, something approximate to their existing resources. Ravenclaws, like Hufflepuff secondaries, are at their best when they can prepare for before their problems show up. Let's try that again. Ravenclaws, like Hufflepuff secondaries, are at their best when they can prepare before the problem shows up, not improvise or invent in the moment. Where Hufflepuffs invest in reputation, community, and effort, Ravenclaws invest in tools. These tools can vary from detailed knowledge of the modern Romance languages, Mesopotamian history, Gothic architecture, and U.S. civil court legal procedures, or mastering the skills of carjacking, gourmet vegan cooking, juggling, or staying level-headed in a crisis and keeping internal or external databases on their friends, allies, enemies, likes, dislikes, connections, obligations, fears, weaknesses, strengths, and goals. Some of these are more useful than others. Ravenclaws can collect their tools with the aim of eventual usefulness, but are likely also to collect knowledge just for the sake of knowledge. Does this sound like you so far? From your answers so far, you might also be a Gryffindor and a Hufflepuff. So Gryffindor secondaries take charge. They don't like to lie or misrepresent themselves. Hate to break this. I hate taking charge. I'll do it if I have to and if no one else does it, but I really would rather not, which is why that one doesn't sound right. Hufflepuff secondaries work. They're the ones that show up, reliable, and trusted. So that's why I'm pretty sure I'm actually modeling Ravenclaw and not a Ravenclaw secondary, or very close, because I will show up to things even if I'm the only one showing up to things sometimes, and just keep doing it and doing it in the right way for as long as I have to, because no one else is doing it. Now, I'm pretty sure I modeled. All right. So it says, we're not entirely sure you're fully Hufflepuff. Let's tell you about some more things. So burn secondaries. Burn secondaries may be too world-weary, resigned, or practical to put weight into specific methods or tactics. They do what they need to do to get things done. Burn secondaries may also have lost faith in their own abilities to use specific tools of their house. So, for example, a burnt Hufflepuff secondary might want to be a reliable, hardworking, and trustworthy, but they feel more like they are, or like people think they are, flaky, shaky, and flighty. Doing things steadily well and showing up is the right way to achieve their goals, but burnt puffs know that's not going to work within their capabilities. So they take other paths and use other tools. Maybe a Gryffindor's bluntness, a Slytherin's flexibility, or a Ravenclaw's collection of skills and tools. So, burnt Ravenclaw secondary might want to be skilled, curious, and prepared, but they feel limited, clumsy, and inconsistent. So, they're not going to work within their capabilities, and they might use something else. So basically, if something happened and you're not able to stay within your specific sphere, it kind of makes you want to use something else that you see as better. So the last part we're going to talk about is the actual Tumblr post that they have that you can look up. And this is the fun thing, because they actually have diagrams where they explain like the difference between decided, idealistic, intuitive, external, internal, and loyal. So they will make little circles and show you this is why these two sort of connect, and this might be why you're showing up in more than one thing. The other thing that I found super interesting, and sorry, I'm looking for things at the same time, is they will actually give you examples of pop culture characters that they have sorted themselves based on their attributes. So, for example, in the burn section, they talk about when a Gryffindor burns, losing faith in their own internal compass, they don't lose the need to do the right thing. In the void of their faith, they look outside themselves to discover the truth there, effectively functioning like a Ravenclaw. So their example of this is Shepherd Book of Firefly, which just touches my geeky heart. And it says, he could be a burnt Gryffindor, shaken by a dark and ugly past. He doesn't trust his own sense of righteousness, so he's turned outward to religion in an attempt to find peace and guidance. He looks outward like a Ravenclaw, measured and thoughtful, but we catch glimpses of fire and grit inside. Because, like, especially since there's only one season of Firefly, we don't really know why Shepherd is a shepherd. And two, his identity card gets him in places that no one else can get to. Why does he have such high clearance? And we never actually find out, but it does hint at a slightly darker past. So another one, when they talk about primaries, is Lorelai Gilmore, actually, is possibly a Slytherin primary and has built herself a Hufflepuff primary model. So because she's a single mom, she used to bond with and invest in her new hometown of Stars Hollow. Lorelai likes being part of things, likes caring for and supporting her wacky, wholesome community, and spends much of her time happily using this robust Hufflepuff model. However, when push comes to shove, she will always stand first by herself and those she loves most, especially her daughter, even at the expense of her community and her connections. So Alphonse from A Fullmetal Alchemist is a less messy Ravenclaw primary who has settled into a Hufflepuff-like system of compassion, empathy, and generosity. When he's not being driven to tears by existential questions of identity, Al's a measured and calming moral presence in an otherwise chaotic world. So it's really cool. You can actually have them sort of look through all their lists of people and go, okay, something in that character resonates. This might be why. For example, while Lorelai's kind of a Hufflepuff, she's never really seemed like a Hufflepuff to me. So you can clearly see where she's getting parts of it, but not all of it. So I found this system super, super cool. I am now very thoroughly a Hufflepuff. I'm not even sure there's any Ravenclaw in me, but it's kind of up for you guys to decide. You guys have heard all my explanations. What do you guys think? I'm very clearly a Hufflepuff primary, but secondary. Am I a Hufflepuff or a Ravenclaw? Who knows? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to take the quiz. It is actually super, super cool. And if you are a Harry Potter geek like me, it's something everybody needs to do at least once just to, go, well, this was cooler and definitely much more in-depth than Pottermore. I actually challenge my best friend at Bean Bunny Creates on Instagram to do this because I'm intrigued. When we started her on Pottermore, she swore she was going to be a Hufflepuff and ended up a Ravenclaw. So I'm intrigued to see what she would be if she did both. Alrighty guys, that is all I have for this week. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to take the quiz. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and do all the things. Comment below what did you get. And I will see you guys next Fandom Friday. Bye!